Welcome to Best of Reddit. Be sure to subscribe as we upload new content daily. This happened about 15 years ago. For context, I had been living in a transitional home after aging out of a group home. I am on the autism spectrum, and group homes and transitional homes have a very mixed bag of people. Some are neurodivergent, some suffer from mental health issues, others may be recovering addicts trying to get sober, either voluntarily or by court order, etc. My parents were, and are, wonderful people, but I needed a lot of extra help growing up to become a functioning member of society. So that is how I wound up there. While living in the adult home, I met and befriended a young woman who we will call Susie. Susie was a recovering alcoholic, but she was very charismatic and personable. I liked to hang around her and kind of looked up to her. She had her issues, like being a bit of a drama queen, but with my own background and what I had become accustomed to being surrounded by, I didn't really give them a second thought. Anyways, after a few months, Susie finishes her program and moves out of the house, but we keep in touch. About a year after she moved out, I was really wanting to move out of the adult home. I felt like I had gotten all that I could out of the program, and I was up to the challenge of trying to live on my own. I'd gotten a job at a local department store and was viewed as a reliable employee, so I was definitely feeling confident. Susie heard that I was looking for somewhere to live, and she got in touch. She said that she had a 2-bedroom apartment, and her other roommate had just dipped out, leaving her to foot the entire bill. Out of courtesy, I asked what had happened, since Susie seemed like she wanted to vent. She told me that her ex-roommate hated Susie's boyfriend for no apparent reason and they got in a huge fight over it. Me: your roommate didn't want him coming over. Susie: well, he did stay over a lot. And he drank a lot and could be kind of a jerk. But I broke up with him, so it won't be an issue if you move in. This did set off kind of a warning bell, but Susie was a friend. She had kind of watched out for me in the home, and I had never lived anywhere by myself before, so I decided to go for it. Me: okay, well I can only pay about $400 a month right now, is that okay? Susie: yeah, that's fine. My name is the only one on the lease and I don't mind covering the difference, it's better than having no rent money at all. You don't have to worry about the landlady, she's cool and as long as the rent gets paid she doesn't care who I pick as a roommate. That sounded like a good deal to me, and the apartment was nice, so I moved in shortly thereafter. The first 2 months were great. Unfortunately, it went quickly downhill after that. Susie started drinking again, and I mean, she really fell off the wagon. I would frequently get calls asking me to come get her from the bar, even when I was working or asleep. Susie worked as a hairdresser and set her own hours or made house calls, so I never knew when she was working or when she was drinking somewhere. I tried to voice my concerns, and she'd regularly tell me that she was going to quit, but lo and behold, I'd soon get another call from the bar. The bartender and bouncer knew me by name, and I never drank there. Then Susie got back together with the ex-boyfriend. We'll call him Jack. Jack, oh Jack. Jack was a piece of work. Imagine your stereotypical bloodshot skinny white skinhead drug dealer from a B-movie with tats and black leather, and you've got Jack. Jack deserves a whole story unto his own. At one point he tried to break down the door to my room in a drunken stupor thinking it was Susie's door, and he couldn't get it together enough to understand that me shouting at him was not Susie. She wasn't even home. I had to crawl out my bedroom window to get away, but Susie predictably brushed it off. Pretty soon the two of them were not just drinking together, but I also caught them doing coke together. At our apartment. This was not okay with me. I couldn't really say or control much about Susie's life choices, but I could say something about having drugs in our shared living space. We got into a huge fight. I told her that since it was my space too, she needed to respect some basic courtesies and principles. She got this really, and I mean really, mean look and a cleverness crept into her bloodshot eyes. Susie: fine, if you want to be an equal roommate with equal decision-making power, then you can pay equal rent. I expect you to pay $650 this month. Me: you can't just arbitrarily raise my rent like that, Susie, you're not on the lease, so you have to pay me what I say or I'll put all your crap on the street. I was fuming. But I also felt like I didn't have any options. I was still young, largely inexperienced in life, didn't have a huge support network, and people skills are just not my forte. It takes a lot of conscious effort to manage my autism quirks, and when I get emotional, that just goes out the door. So the only thing I can really do is remove myself from the situation. So I just went to my room without arguing further. I did end up paying her the $650 that month, and it made it so that I was barely getting by. After that happened, I noticed that a bunch of my stuff, namely groceries and shower stuff, started to get used or go missing. As politely as I could, I asked Susie to stop, because I had very little money, and I couldn't afford to replace what she used. Susie, I haven't used any of your stuff and I do not appreciate the accusation. It was probably Jack, I'll talk to him about it. Me. Fine, I don't care as long as it stops. I later caught her eating my food when I came home from work one day, and again confronted her, and her pathetic grade school response was, Susie, I didn't see your name on it. The next week I get calls on 2 separate occasions from Susie to come pick her up from the bar. I don't answer the calls, and I ignore the voicemails. I expected her to make an issue of it, and was surprised when she didn't. Until about a week before rent was due. Susie, you owe me $700 for rent this month. Me. No, I owe you $650, and I shouldn't even have to pay that. Susie, I had to call a taxi the 2 times you refused to get me from the bar, so you were reimbursing me for the cab fares. Me. What the freak? I don't have to pay for your cabs on your binges, oh I'll pick you up. I'm not paying $700. Susie, well, you're not on the lease, so you can pay me or find all your stuff on the street or sold. If you don't pay me, I have the right to sell what I want to get my money back. Now, this is crap, and I had a feeling it was crap, but at the time I really wasn't 100% sure. So I told her that fine, I would pay, but that would be the last time I paid over $650. She rolled her eyes and said whatever and walked off with wine bottle in hand. Cue the revenge. Now, I had been screwed over in 2 different ways, and I was determined to get my revenge twofold. I had some friends from a local group I was in that knew what had been going on, and several had offered to let me couch surf while I tried to find a better living situation. While initially reluctant, I got in touch with a few of them and made plans. The day before rent was due, 2 of my friends came over and we cleared out all of my stuff. Susie wasn't home, so we were able to work unhindered and fast. I didn't have much to begin with anyways. I only left 2 things, and we'll get to that momentarily. Later that evening as I was hanging out with one of the friends who had helped me escape, I get a call from Susie. Susie, did you leave? Me. Well, I'm not at the apartment if that's what you mean. Susie, don't be a retard. Yeah, she went there. I mean, did you move out? Me. Yeah, I did. Susie, well, I hope you know you still owe me $700, and I work again in the morning, so I expect you to bring it to me tonight. Me. Nah. Susie, what? Me. I'm not paying you. Susie actually shrieked. Like, high-pitched screeching that I am currently literally laughing out loud about as I type this story, 15 years later. She went on to insist, threaten, beg, the works. I didn't budge, because, after all. Me. Well, you know, I'm not on the lease. So I don't have to pay you anything you say. She continued screaming, and I hung up and turned my phone off. The incessant calls were non-stop, and as hilarious as it was, I didn't want to deal with it anymore that night. I did check my voicemails periodically though, as I had a mighty curiosity to see if the second part of my revenge would work. Spoiler alert. It did. I had left 2 bottles at the apartment. One was a small bottle of generic liquid laundry detergent. The other was a small bottle of hotel sample shampoo. On both bottles I very clearly wrote my name and do not use in black Sharpie. It was tricky on the small sample bottle, but I made it work. Then I poured out the laundry detergent and replaced it with blue liquid dish soap and blue fabric dye. The shampoo bottle was replaced with a mix of lotion and Nair. That's right. Hair removal serum. And I, accidentally, left them at the apartment. Both items worked, but in a way that I could not have anticipated, and it was even better. Because both the dye and the hair removal serum had been mixed with other agents and not used as intended, they only partially worked. I got hysterical voicemails and some crazy threats on my phone, but the cherry on top was when I saw her at the local community college a few days later. I guess she hadn't gotten a chance to do anything about her wardrobe yet, because she was in splotchy blue clothes, not uniform in color in any shape or form. She was also wearing a hat, but I could see even at a distance that there were clumps missing. That must have been interesting trying to explain, since her job was as a hairdresser. I ended up changing my phone number because the hate just would not stop, but she had no recourse to do anything back to me, and I had a lot of evidence against her, especially regarding her probation and failure to maintain her sobriety. Did I mention that was a thing? She had gotten a DUI, so were my actions mean, petty, and cruel? Maybe, but at least I didn't send her to jail. And to this day, thinking of those blue spotty clothes and that clumpy hair under an awful hat makes me grin like the Cheshire Cat.